How's it going, guys? And today we're back again with my updated Brr-Reaver build, or as I have lovingly dubbed it, Bone Daddy. So this build has gone through a lot of different changes as the chaos has gone up and things have gotten harder, but I have still climbed through Chaos 50 only with this setup. It is still just as strong, just very different. With that being said, let's get on with the build video, and here's a little montage showcasing what exactly this can do.
Don't stop, mine. You creeping in my line. You trying to test my nuts. You feel this knife up in your guts. You kinda fucking with the wrong mind. I'll kill you easy like it was a game. Boom, strapped up with my gat. Hitting with my goons and you hit the cackalack. Why you acting funny when you see me flashing Mac? And you know I got it on my mama, I ain't back. I don't wanna fuck with no fools like you. Can you please? I ain't smoking on these drugs. I can barely even see 289. Can you find dead bitches in my rhyme? Torso in the fucking lake, gray skin and looking fake. I wouldn't fuck with me, I wouldn't dare you see. Turn into a scary scene, looking straight into the beam. Bust it up and bust it down. Make your old damn bitch turn around. Strapped up with my gat, boom, strapped up, boom, strapped up with my gat, boom, strapped up with my gat, boom, strapped up with my gat, boom, strapped up.
So starting off here with the skill tree, of course, we are using Reaper of Bones with Graveborn Berserker. Now, this is a really good combo as Graveborn and Berserker have really good synergy together, specifically because of the enrage skill of the Berserker. Enrage will stay up as long as you are in Reaper of Bones, and with Reaper of Bones you can keep it up for quite some time, so you're pretty much always enraged, and even as you fall out of Reaper of Bones, as long as you continue to kill, because we have Blood Frenzy, you can keep that frost damage up for quite a bit of time. So we'll start off with the Berserker skill tree because there's a lot less to talk about here. We have Ancestral Frost just for frost damage, Savagery for some more melee damage and enrage duration. The Old Ways is just really good as it is just a huge flat damage boost. This helps really well with the live wire and also just your melees. Unarmored Defense is probably one of the best skills in the game for Graveborn. It takes half of your ward, and it gives you a shit ton of health based on how much it takes. So it's not as good with squishier shields, however it is still really strong. As a side note, in the Chaos Chambers, this also makes the curse that takes some of your health and puts it into your shield actually beneficial to you, because it'll give you back more health than it takes. As I said, we also have Blood Frenzy so that we can keep up that enrage timer outside of Reaper of Bones, and we also get some max health on kill, which also lets us keep up Reaper of Bones. Relentless Rage is not a very important skill here. You can honestly take this point out and put it elsewhere. I just think it is the best value for this one little extra point that we kind of have. However, putting it in Punishment or Harvest could also be quite good. And then finally for this tree is Blast Chill. Now this skill used to really just be the core of what we're doing here, but unfortunately, Gearbox fixed it. So while it's not as crazy as it once was, it is still really, really strong and definitely still worth this point here. And now for the Graveborn tree. Mortal Vessel, this is just a really good skill. Dark Magic Efficiency is very important for us for keeping up Reaper of Bones, and so is Max HP. Faithful Thralls is really strong. This is probably the best skill in the Graveborn tree, especially now that Pixie Spam actually counts towards it. So as you chuck out those Tediors, you just start stacking up damage for you to go and then crack some fucking skulls with. Dark Pact is also a very important skill here. This is just a huge general damage increase for us pretty much because of how much damage we are actually doing that is just dark magic. Sanguine Sacrament is really strong. You could also take the point out of Relentless Rage to put into here. Personally, I don't feel a huge difference between the 10% and the 15%, but if you are struggling to keep up your action skill, you can move that point into here, and it could be that extra boost that maybe you need. Next up is Dread Covenant. Now this skill is also kind of meh. This is another point that you could honestly take out of here and put elsewhere, but I personally like it because it does help you keep up Reaper of Bones, especially if you're in a boss fight. If you get knocked down, it's pretty much an extra life in Reaper of Bones before you go into the invincibility phase. So this can really help you with specific bosses that will immediately knock you and you don't have time to take them out in the duration of your Reaper of Bones invincibility. Ascension isn't an amazing skill, I find, but it does help because we are spamming a lot of spells, so the spell damage does have a use, and the increasing max HP is also quite nice. You can take the points out of the skill and put them into Harvest, however, I would recommend if you don't think that you need Ascension, as Harvest is also a pretty strong skill. And finally, we have Lord of Edges, which is another general damage boost, which interacts quite nicely with the old ways to really give you a lot of extra damage. Just, on everything that you do. So this is the skill tree that I personally have come to find that I like the most. I've tested out so many different combinations of things. I've tried to go over all the options that you really have if you want to continue being very strong. But overall, this is what you'll get if you download the save file in the description below. And for our hero points, I have my archetype as Village Idiot to get the most out of the crit damage, which there's no real surprise here. We max strength, we max constitution, and then dump everything else into dex. For our actual gear, we'll start with our weapons. Most importantly, of course, the live wire. On my guns is also where I usually put my enchantment on spell cast, increase dark magic damage by 30% for 5 seconds. Because we're spamming spells so much, this is really just always up. And the reason that I prefer to have it on my guns is because we also use Action Still Active. Action Still Active, I don't believe, actually continues up when you swap your gun. So this lets us swap our guns while we're still in Reaper of Bones, and then we can just cast a skill and make sure that our enchantments are all staying up as long as possible. But back to the live wire itself, this gun, when you hold it as you start meleeing, every other attack, I believe, chains lightning damage over to an enemy. So this just gives you a lot of AoE with your melee attacks. Gearbox did recently change this so that the damage no longer scales up with less ammo that you have in your magazine. However, this gun is still really fucking strong for melee builds. The other most important weapon is the Whatnot of the Wizard, or just any gun that transforms into a pixie. Spamming out pixies during Reaper of Bones lets you apply more and more dots. The more dots you apply, the more health you regain. The longer you keep up Reaper of Bones, pixies also just do a shit ton of damage while also stacking faithful thralls. Pixies are still just broken, in short. Get yourself some pixies. And then our actual melee weapon. My personal favorite is the Snake Stick because of the interactions, again, with Faithful Thralls. That is really our biggest damage boost that we actually get, so we really want to play around it. So as you hit with the Snake Stick, you spawn Hydras. Those Hydras boost your Faithful Thralls and also give you more damage to continue stacking up with Echo, which Echo is the only thing you want on your melee weapons. It is the most important part of this build. You can use something other than the Snake Stick, but you need Echo. The amount of damage that you put out just passively, it really charges up that Echo to just fucking chunk the shit out of anything. Now, I do not have one personally, but the Stab-O-Matic is the Wonderlands version of the Face Puncher, and it shoots melee damage. Get one of those. I do not currently have one on this save, but you can get one from the Wheel of Fate. What I do have on this save is a Sword Explosion and a Gluttony of the Carver. Both of these are very good options if there's something that you need to shoot, like Theodore's Arena. Use the Sword Explosion. I put on some gun damage rings, which I have here, 2 Sharksbanes, and it and the Carver just make quick work of anything that you can't smack. Some other good options that I like is the Shadow Fire and the Throwable Hole. These are just really fun Teediors, both of which still do decent damage, even if you're not spec'd into damage for them specifically. Now, rings you have a lot of options for. I do like the mood rings still, however, I've really been liking shell casing rings. Because even though this doesn't really stack with how the live wire used to work, you can still just have your live wire on low ammo and it really doesn't matter. So you can always keep up that 66% damage boost. Right now I do have a better thumb cuff. I did the math, this thumb cuff still just out damages the shell casing, which does kind of suck. But if you can get 2 really good shell casing rings, you're going to be set. And what you really want here is melee damage on your main roll, a double roll of melee critical hit damage, and dark magic efficiency. That would be your god roll. But most rings pretty much work. It really just matters the passives that you roll on them and if you can play around the legendary passive. For our artifact, I'm using the Joint Training. with dark magic damage and Graveborn power, of course. I do not have a great one here. You definitely want better passive rolls. Dark magic efficiency would be beautiful, but because we play with a lot of companions, the joint training is definitely just the best in slot that you can use here. Whenever you crit, it increases the chance that your companion will crit, and when your companion crit, it increases your crit damage. You crit a lot, you stack crit damage. This just makes you do even more damage with those echo crits. And of course, what is probably the best Graveborn class armor, the Corrupted Plate Mail. Now, I have a very lucky roll here, an Ascended Graveborn Berserker, with melee crit chance and maximum health. You really want melee damage, max HP, and crit damage? I'm not actually sure if that exists, but critical hit chance isn't bad. This could definitely be a better roll, though. Now, spells and shield is where we get into things that can change when you're trying to actually boss. For mobbing, I tend to use the body rune, which gives you extra fire damage and also heals you on kill. So this helps keep up Reaper of Bones, it does more damage, it's just a really good overall shield. It also has a really good capacity, which works well with unarmored defense to give you even more health. And for your spell, you want a Quaking Sunder, preferably a 2-charge, so that you can spam it a little bit more. And for the enchantment here, I want to bring up real quick, I go for the melee damage increase because this, I did math on it, I've done extensive testing, it is significantly better than any elemental increase. The melee damage increase just stacks with everything else much better. Now if you're bossing, you're going to want to switch your body rune to a Cursed Wit. This increases your damage by 100% to nearby enemies, this literally doubles your damage, and makes very quick work of bosses. And you'll want to swap out your spell to a Frostburn. This gives you some AoE damage around you wherever you cast it. If you cast it on the boss, that'll help stack Echo, along with spawning in more Hydras, which stacks damage and Faithful Thralls, and on, and you do damage. That's what it all comes down to, doing damage. I don't think I'll be making another video on this build for quite some time. I'm going to probably wait until any level cap increases, any more Chaos Chamber increases. I'm going to wait until the end of life of this game to actually update this again, because I do believe that this will be the sort of direction that this build stays in for quite some time. It is just better as a pure melee build. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, though. Thank you for sticking around. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow my Twitch, twitch.tv/Arachnica, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Take care. See ya, gamers.